former Alabama two-time first-team All-American, SEC Freshman of the Year, Arizona Wranglers Defensive Rookie of the Year back in 1983, and played all 4 years plus a redshirt season at the University of Alabama under Coach Paul Bryant. His final season, 1982, his senior season, was Coach Bryant's final season as head coach of the Crimson Tide, and he joins us now to reminisce a little bit about Coach on what would have been his 107th birthday. Good morning, Tommy. How are you?
Morning, Gary. Everything's going good, man.
Good. I mean, this is a doubly important day in these parts. Of course, we remember the 9/11 terrorist attacks 19 years ago today, and we remember Coach Bryant, who, as I said, 107 years old today, born in 1913 in Morro Bottom, Arkansas, and the rest, they say, is history. You had a great experience with Coach Bryant from the time he personally recruited you, from the time that you went home for a while and he flew down to get you and bring you back, and you had a special bond with him. Just some reminisce a little bit and some recollections for about your relationship with Coach Bryant, what he means to you.
I mean, just what a great man. I think if you talk to any player that played for Coach Bryant, they would tell you that he was like a second father to them. There was, although we were scared of him and shied away from him, when you had a problem, you could go to him, or if something came up, you knew you could go to him, and he could handle it. And it just was a terrible loss for the state, for the country, and it shows because he's still being remembered today. What the impact he had on so many great people.
You had an opportunity to go to a lot of different places, and of course Alabama had a great program. But was Coach Bryant? Was he the? I know your father thought a lot of Coach Bryant as well. Was he the main reason, the difference that you chose Alabama over some of those other schools?
That was it. I think anybody came to Alabama because they wanted to play for Coach Bryant. At that time, we didn't have the best facilities in the country. We didn't have the biggest weight room. We didn't have all the fancy things that other schools had.
That's right.
But what Alabama did have was Coach Bryant and a winning tradition. And, I've said this many times. It would have been easy to go to other schools and play. I was fortunate to be recruited by Notre Dame and Ole Miss, pretty heavy, and Oklahoma and some others. They promised you your jersey number, and they promised you this and that you could start right away. And I mean, I could have took the easy way out, but I figured back then if I could go to Alabama and I could make it there. I knew it wouldn't be easy because there was a lot of great players there, but if I could play there, I could play anywhere. And that's kind of because I knew Coach Bryant was real tough and real strict, but I knew if I listened to him and the other players listened to him, that we'd have the best chance at being on a championship team, and that came true for me, and I'm so glad that I made that decision, because if I'd have went to some of the other schools, I'd have never won a championship,
Tommy Wilcox with us, reminiscing about the late, great Paul Bryant. You got to Alabama, and 1978 was a tough year. You were running scout team quarterback. You weren't playing in the games. You were redshirting. You were taking a beating. And from that great, incredible defense,
unbelievable defense
they had, and you got a little disenchanted. And I want you to tell the story. You actually went back to Louisiana with the idea of maybe not coming back to Alabama, but Coach Bryant wasn't having it, was he?
Right. Well, when you're in high school, you're kind of the big fish in a small bowl, and I came up here to Alabama, and a lot of great players at Alabama, and it was where you could redshirt freshmen, and they'd still have 4 years left. And so he redshirted just about everybody. Maybe 2 or 3 people didn't get redshirted, but the whole rest of that squad got redshirted. That meant that you didn't mean much. You know what I mean? You all you did was practice, and you ran scout teams, and you just got beat up every day by probably the best defensive squad in the country at that time. And I tell Rich Wingo and all those other guys, Barry Krause and Marty Lyons, that it was child abuse. You know, I mean, they just literally wore you out, man. And but so after that season, I mean, it wasn't fun at all. I mean, you didn't get to dress up, and go here and do that, go to games. I mean, you just it was horrible, man. And when the summer came, I went back to Louisiana. I just wasn't coming back. I said, man, I'm not going through this again for another whole year. And I remember Coach Bryant calling me up and asked me if I had a car, and I said, no, sir. He said, can you get one? I said, yeah. And he said, well, meet me at the airport. So I mean, he met me at the airport. We went across the street to the hotel room, and he just started talking about all the problems that he's faced in his life, and all the different players who've had problems and been homesick, and this, that, and there wasn't any problem he hadn't heard of before, and he wanted to know why I was not wanting to come back, and I told him, and and he understood. He understood all that, but he said, look, man, I think you made it the right stuff. I think you're capable of, playing for me this year. You've got all the right tools. Now, whether you can do that or not, that's up to you. I mean, he'd always, put the carrot in front of you, and then he would always say, but, I think you could do it, but that's really up to you. You got to prove yourself, and so in a more roundabout way, he'd challenge you. And he said a lot of things. I think you're good enough to start for me. I think, you're good enough to, one day be an All-American. I think, a lot of you and all that, but you got to want it, then he'd twist it back on you, So we talked, and I told him I was coming back. And so I came back up to school, and for 1 week, he put me on the scout team again.
You thought, oh, my goodness.
And every day, I was getting the hell beat out of me. And I was thinking, man, this ain't what we talked about in that hotel room, And then he called me in his office, and he said, okay, you passed my test. I was going to see if you were going to put it out. He said, well, I'll tell you what, Bobby Smith's a senior, and he's playing strong safety. And he said, I want to move you to strong safety. And he says, I'll give you, you're going to be running with the first team. And he said, I'm going to give you my promise that I got to start Bobby the first quarter of the game, opening game against Georgia Tech. But come the second quarter, I'm going to put you in. It's going to be your chance to win the position.
And you never looked
And he
back.
did, man. Second quarter came, he put me in that strong safety, and the rest was history.
Yeah, and that's a great story because you were a quarterback like so many of the players that Coach Bryant signed and recruited, and that was your love, and that's what you'd always been. But it worked out pretty well. I mean, you might have been the starting quarterback at some point and a good quarterback, but I don't know that you'd have been a two-time All-American and SEC Freshman of the Year and all that. So he had the great vision and the foresight.
And, and that means, now and it did back then, for him to think enough of me to take time out from his, because we were in practice. We were in two-a-days. And for him to get on the airplane and fly down to New Orleans by himself, him and his two pilots, and talk to me and to try and get me to come back. I mean, that changed my life. I don't know what would have happened to Tommy Wilcox had I not come back, but I do know that what did happen because I came back, and I'll always be indebted for him thinking enough of me to do that, you know. And I've had coaches when I first came back, they go, you know, I don't know what he sees in you, but I tell you what, I've never seen him do this for any other player, so you better take advantage of this. I had not just one coach; I've had numerous coaches tell me that.
Yeah, well,
I always wanted to play my heart out for him because he took time out of his schedule to come get me, and I really appreciated that.
Well, Tommy, he taught you life lessons that you still use today, all the guys that played for him, and appreciate you going down memory lane. He's still missed by, I think, even by the Alabama football fans that were not alive when he was coaching. The stories were passed along. He's a legend, and as I've said many times, and I know you agree, Coach Saban's a phenomenal football coach and done incredible things in terms of what's he's doing on the field. He may eclipse Coach Bryant. Who knows? But there's only one. There's only one Coach Paul Bear Bryant, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you, Tommy.
All right, my man. Good luck.
We appreciate it. Tommy